Chapter 10, Episode 3. Belonging should feel like rest. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt like you had to become someone else? Maybe you felt like you needed to be quieter, less expressive, less opinionated. Maybe you felt like you had to smile all the time. Maybe you felt like you couldn't have an off day because people would suddenly question your attitude instead of asking if you were okay. If you've ever felt like you had to perform just to belong, this conversation is for you. There was a time in my life when I took a job that on paper looked like the perfect decision. I had recently gotten married. We had moved to a small town. And after years of working in high-level positions, I intentionally chose a job that came with less responsibility because I wanted a slower pace of life. No one forced me to make that decision. It was all mine. But there was one problem. You see, I don't know how to do anything halfway. So before long, I was doing more than what I had been hired to do. More responsibility, more expectations, more opportunities to prove myself. And I was okay with that at first. But you see, living in a small town was different. People had lived there for generations upon generations. There was even a name for people like me. We were called come heres, because you're not from here, you came here. So you were a come here. At first, I laughed it off. But over time, I realized that label represented something much deeper. I never quite felt like I belonged in that town, but I still became the person everyone came to when they needed help. I would train people. I was a problem solver. I showed up. I worked hard. But somewhere along the way, I realized something. People had become attached to the version of me that was always smiling, always positive, always energetic. But the moment I had a bad day or a hard day, no one asked, "Renae, are you okay?" Instead, it was assumed I had an attitude. And that really hurt. It wasn't because I wasn't allowed to have emotions, but because I realized I wasn't even being given permission to be human. I was expected to perform every day. There were moments when I experienced things that made it clear I wasn't always seen the same as everyone else. Some comments from customers hurt. And when those moments happened, I didn't always feel protected or supported. I just heard, "Oh, they didn't mean any harm. That's just how they are." But whether harm was intended or not, the impact was still real. Those moments taught me something I didn't fully understand until much later. When people become comfortable with the role you play, they sometimes forget there's a real person behind the performance. For a long time, I thought belonging meant proving myself, working harder, smiling more, showing everyone what I could do, trying to earn a place. But one day, I realized I was spending more energy trying to make other people comfortable with who I was than simply being who I was. That realization changed everything, because belonging shouldn't feel like an audition. It shouldn't require you to shrink or pretend or hide parts of yourself just to make other people comfortable. Belonging should feel like rest. One of the greatest gifts I've experienced since leaving that season of my life is discovering what it feels like to simply be myself. To have a hard day without my character being questioned. To contribute without constantly proving my worth. To be valued for who I am and not just for what I do. That's what healthy relationships feel like. That's what healthy communities feel like. That's what peace feels like. The older I get, the more I realize the right people, the right places, the right opportunities won't require you to perform in order to belong. They will simply make room for you to be fully yourself. Because one of the best ways to discover who you are is to spend time with people who don't need you to be anyone else. If you've been exhausting yourself trying to earn acceptance, I hope you will remember this. You don't have to keep auditioning for spaces that never let you rest. The people who are meant for your life, they won't require a performance. They will just appreciate your presence. Thank you for spending a little time with me today. If this conversation encouraged you, I would love for you to subscribe and join me every Sunday for another Living Out Loud conversation. And until next Sunday, keep living out loud.